6 weeks after childbirth, 3 Amish women came to decide if I was still a good wife. The kerosene lamp was still burning low on the table when I saw their coats, 3 of them, dark and heavy, hanging by my door, though no knock had come yet. The pine floor felt cold under my bare feet. Cradle behind me moved with a slow, tired creak, even though no hand touched it. Milk steamed on the stove, sour at the edges. My hands were shaking as I folded the dishcloth once, then again. I did not know yet why they had come. What I am about to tell you, I have never said aloud in full. My name is Mary Hostetler, and this is a quiet place we share together on this channel. If you stay with me, you will hear what is usually never spoken inside homes like mine. Tell me in the comments if you have ever felt watched without a word being said. If you wish, stay close here with us. The air in the kitchen felt too still for morning. Frost pressed at the window edges in thin white lines. I could hear the wood stove ticking as it cooled, each sound small but sharp in my chest. The cradle behind me kept moving on its own slow rhythm, like it had forgotten to stop. I stood there with my apron half tied, fingers stiff, staring at those 3 coats by the door. No footsteps followed them. No voices came first. Only the sense that the house was already no longer mine in the same way it had been yesterday. My hands still carried the heaviness of 6 weeks past birth, swollen at the joints, slow to obey me. I pressed my palm against the table, just to feel something solid. The milk on the stove rose again, a soft tremble of steam curling into the cold air. I heard fabric shift behind me, a whisper of movement near the doorway, but I did not turn yet. Something in me knew that turning would make it real in a way I was not ready for. I only counted my breath, slow and uneven, while the house waited with me. In my community, there is a quiet expectation after birth. 6 weeks to return, 6 weeks to show you can carry your place again. We do not speak of it loudly. It is simply known, like the direction of the wind. A woman is not only recovering her body, but proving her steadiness, her Gelassenheit, even when sleep has broken her into pieces. No one tells you this as a warning. You learn it by noticing how eyes rest on you a little longer than before. I had thought I was ready. I was wrong in ways I did not yet understand. When I finally turned, they were already inside the room. 3 women, standing in a loose line that felt too practiced to be accidental. One moved toward the laundry line, touching the cloth with 2 fingers, as if reading it. Another stood by the stove, looking at the salt jar without asking a question. The third did not look at the room at all. She was looking at me, not my face first, but my hands, as if they carried the truth of everything I had done since the child came. No one greeted me. Silence itself did the speaking. The blue quilt was still on the rocking chair. I had stitched it in uneven nights when my body shook and my eyes would not stay open. 23 crooked seams ran through it, each one a small moment I could not take back. One of them stepped closer and lifted it without asking. Her fingers pressed along the edge where thread had doubled over itself. I felt my throat tighten. The baby was not in the cradle now, though the cradle still moved slightly, as if memory alone could keep it going. No one asked where the child was. There was another woman once, Ruth from the next valley. She told me later, in a voice almost too soft to follow, they came to her home after her 2nd child as well. Not in anger, not in praise, just presence. After that visit, she said fewer names were spoken to her in greeting. Fewer invitations came for singings from the Ausbund. No one said she was turned away. She only noticed that she was no longer drawn toward the center of things. That is how it happens, most times. Not with doors closing, but with chairs slowly turning away. The air in my kitchen felt heavier now, as if every object was being weighed. The milk on the stove finally boiled over, slipping down the side in a thin, pale line, but no one moved to stop it. One woman reached toward the cradle and adjusted the blanket without asking me. That small motion felt louder than any words could have been. I realized they were not looking for mistakes in my home. They were looking for something steadier inside me that either held or did not hold. Time felt stretched, like it had forgotten how to end. The woman with the quilt folded it once, then again, but not the way I would have done it. She left one corner slightly lifted, as if it had been interrupted mid-thought. All three of them stepped back at the same time, quiet as if they had practiced leaving rooms like this before. I remember the sound of the cradle stopping for just a moment, then beginning again on its own. No one spoke. But something in the room had already shifted into place, and I was still standing inside the shape of it, not knowing what it meant. The kitchen still held their absence like heat that refuses to leave wood. The milk had dried into a pale skin along the stove edge, cracking in slow lines. I stood where I had been left, hands lowered but not resting, as if my body had forgotten what to do after being observed so closely. The cradle made its small sound again behind me, that soft, uneven rocking, though no one touched it now. I could still feel the weight of their looking, not as eyes anymore, as a shape in the air that had learned my name and stayed behind. The kitchen still held their absence like heat that refuses to leave wood. The milk had dried into a pale skin along the stove edge, cracking in slow lines. I stood where I had been left, hands lowered but not resting, as if my body had forgotten what to do after being observed so closely. The cradle made its small sound again behind me, that soft, uneven rocking. No one touched it now. I could still feel the weight of their looking, not as eyes anymore, as a shape in the air that had learned my name and stayed behind. 6 weeks after childbirth, I had expected judgment to sound like something breaking. I had imagined it would arrive with sharper edges. But it did not. It arrived as absence of correction, as silence that does not disturb your place in the room. The truth they carried was simple, almost too simple to hold. I was still inside the Ordnung of my home, still counted, still visible, not praised, not refused, just allowed to remain as I was, with nothing removed and nothing added. And somehow that quietness felt heavier than any spoken word. Both things were true at once, and I did not know how to hold them separately. I was still a wife in name and duty, and I was still being measured in ways I could not see. Care and watching lived in the same hands that had touched my quilt. There was no single person who decided it. Not really. It was the shape of everything around me, carried forward from women before me, passed like folded cloth from one careful hand to another. I also did not ask. I also did not speak when I should have known how. Silence belongs to me as much as it belongs to them. I think now of how many women learn this without ever hearing it named. How a home can feel unchanged while everything inside you has been slightly measured. Who decides when a woman is enough? Is it the one who visits, or the one who remains quiet while they do? Tell me, if you are willing, have you ever felt that kind of decision made in your life without a single clear word spoken? I still wonder if naming it would have changed anything, or if it would have only made the silence sharper around me. After they were gone, I touched the blue quilt again. The uneven stitches felt different under my fingers now, not like mistakes, like a record of nights I survived without knowing I was being recorded. My body remembered more than my mind wanted to hold. Ache in my arms returned slowly, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long without noticing. The cradle finally stopped moving, resting still as if it too had been released from watching. I stood there longer than I should have, waiting for something else to change. Nothing did. After they were gone, I touched the blue quilt again. The uneven stitches felt different under my fingers now, not like mistakes, but like a record of nights I survived without knowing I was being recorded. My body remembered more than my mind wanted to hold. The ache in my arms returned slowly, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long without noticing. The cradle finally stopped moving, resting still as if it too had been released from watching. I stood there longer than I should have, waiting for something else to change. Nothing did. I turned off the stove at last, and the kitchen grew even quieter, as if it had been waiting for permission. Kerosene lamp flickered once, then steadied, and in that small light I saw the cradle in the corner, still and empty, holding the memory of movement more than movement itself. If you are listening to me now, I want you to know this gently. are rooms that do not speak their judgment. They simply hold it in the way they remain around you. And sometimes you do not leave those rooms. You simply learn how to stay inside them.